shocking. Hey friends, it's Laura. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for finding me on YouTube, or if you are returning to my channel, thank you so much for coming back for another plant video. Today is gonna be fun, I think. I'm gonna be potting up a bunch of propagations. I have a lot of plants that need to be potted up, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to be reading the Planty confessions that you on Instagram gave to me. So on Instagram, in my stories, I had a whole bunch of let's say controversial questions, loosely to do with plants, and people answered them. So I'm going to be sharing the results. Some of the results are shocking. So I better pull these up on my phone. I have quite a few plants today that I've been propagating in water, and yeah, these are all water propagations right now that just need to go into pots. First plant we're going to be potting up is this Monstera adansonii. This comes from this mama plant, and unfortunately the plant got thrips. I find Monstera adansonii, this type of plant, I find it really pest attracting. Like, I have had this plant several times and it has died from pests. Last time it was spider mites, and this time is thrips, and I'm trying to save it. The past few times I saw pests on it and just threw it out. I didn't even try because these are fairly common, and I just find that they attract pests more than any of my other plants. And when I bought this one, I bought it from a nursery that is kind of known to have pristine plants, no pests. So I thought, okay, at least we have a good start. And then somehow in my care, it got thrips, and I don't know. A few of my plants had thrips, but none of them, all of them were manageable. This one I actually had to chop up and figure out. I'm trying to save it. Honestly, if it gets strips again, it's going in the compost. I don't have time for that. But as I do that, we're gonna read the results. The first Planty confession question. First question is, have you ever, and there's really good roots on that. Ooh. Have you ever taken a cutting of a plant from a store without permission? So 19% of respondents said yes, they have taken a plant cutting from a store without permission. Okay, I'm really digging in here because the roots are really long. So that's 1 in 5 people of the respondents. Now, obviously, people may have been lying when they answered my questions. I don't know why you would though. And I think there's different categories of this. If there is a cutting or a piece of plant that has fallen on the ground and you pick that up and put in your bag, I feel like that, okay, that kind of makes sense, because probably that's going to be swept up and put in the trash at the end of the day. But if you literally just go into a plant nursery with scissors, that is very, that's spicy. I don't know what to say about that. I feel like it would be really, really awkward to be caught doing that. Also, I think there's a big difference. Now, I'm not saying you should steal from anywhere, but I think taking a cutting from a plant at Walmart, a tiny cutting, and the plant is still fine to be sold and you just helped yourself to a cutting, I don't think that's a great thing to be doing, but I think that's a really different thing to be doing than going to a small independent nursery and taking a cutting from a plant there, because that's actually going to affect their bottom line quite a bit. That's sketchy either way. Anyway, the next question, have you ever taken a cutting of a plant without permission, but this one is from someone's house? So you're visiting someone and you like one of their plants, and instead of asking for a cutting, you waited until an opportune time and helped yourself to a cutting. To me, that is very funny and very odd, and I don't know, I think a lot of plant people, if you ask them for a cutting, they would say sure, or maybe oh, just wait, I'm growing that plant out and then I'll give you a cutting. Also, I think most people would notice that you had taken a cutting. I would notice if something was missing from one of my plants. Maybe not from the really, really bushy plants. Okay, sorry, these cuttings are like very rooty. So I'm hoping that the roots will just start going down once they feel the soil. I think I would notice if someone took a cutting, and then I would know that they did that. It would be really weird. Okay, so 5% of respondents said they had done that. So that is, you know, a much lower number. I'm kind of hoping that those people maybe press that button by accident and have never actually done that, because to me that is very odd and very embarrassing if your friend or whoever you're visiting noticed that you did that. You guys. Okay, next plant is it's neon pothos. I'm always propagating neon pothos. I love it, and I feel like everyone loves it, so it's a good one to propagate as like a gift. Right now I'm making several pots of very full neon pothos just from cutting, so I have this one going already. This one, yeah, these ones have been rooting for so long. Like the roots are kind of almost too long. Like they actually, what have I done? Maybe I could just snip them. Hang on, I have another pot of neon pothos that I will add it to instead, because that one is too tiny. All right, I'm gonna add it into this one because there's a bit more room. Okay, next question. Have you ever sold a plant for way more than what you bought it for? There's like gray areas here, because I think there's nothing wrong. Like if the market goes up and you have a plant and you take a cutting of it and you sell it for way more than you bought it because the market has changed, I think that's like legit. And I would think most people would agree that's just like good business. I'm actually gonna cut these cuttings in 2 pieces because they've rooted in 2 spots. They've rooted up here and down here. This one, same thing. There's like roots coming out of here and at the bottom. So I'm just gonna snip them up so that I can grow more plants. Okay, so as I was saying, I think that that's just, like that's okay to do, at least in my opinion, because you're just aware of the market and aware that you have a plant that is now deemed pretty desirable. I don't think anything is wrong with that. However, I think if you go to Home Depot or Walmart and you find some plant that is deemed very rare right now, and you buy it for $5, and then the next day you sell it for 20 bucks or 50 bucks, which was happening a lot a few months ago, I think that's pretty slimy. Because you haven't done the work of growing the plant. You literally just drove to Walmart and bought it. Sorry, this is getting messy. Let this be a learning time that having super long roots on a cutting is not always, I mean, depends where you're planting it, but if you're trying to plant it in a pot where there's already plants, it's kind of tricky. 32% of people said yes. They have sold a plant for way more than they bought it for. And 68% said no. So interesting. I think there's like several ways to take that. But interesting. Okay, next one. Have you ever re-gifted a plant? And I don't think there's anything wrong with re-gifting a plant. I think that that's actually great. If you get a plant as a gift and it's just not your thing and you give it to someone else, I think that's like great. Obviously, it's kind of weird if you know, pretend you went out and bought it, but you didn't or something. I think there's like ways to be weird about that, but I think in theory, there's nothing wrong. So 53% of you said, yes, you have regifted a plant. I have definitely regifted a plant. I regifted a few plants actually, because sometimes people just give me plants because they know I love plants. And I always, like, I love receiving plants. I'm not, it's nothing against the gift. It's just sometimes it's a plant that I have already, or it's a plant that I just know will not thrive in my house. That's happened for sure. And so then I will give it to someone who I know will appreciate it more. Okay, Neon Pothos looking much more full now. All right, these are Black Pagoda goldfish plant or lipstick plant. I always say the wrong thing. I believe they're goldfish, but I will confirm. But Black Pagoda have those beautiful leaves, and these are very well rooted. So I'm gonna just pot that up in a little tiny pot. Just grab my soil. Okay, next question. Have you ever sold a plant knowing it has pests? Okay. Now again, if you know it has pests and you tell the person, hey, like, it has pests, if you want to take care of that problem, here you go, and then give them a reduced price, I think that's like a normal thing to do. To pretend it doesn't have pests when you know it has pests. So 8% of respondents said yes, they have done that. 92% said no. I would be really mad if I bought a plant and it had pests, which again, sometimes a person might not know it has pests. I have done that before and I was horrified. It was a plant that I had been keeping outside and I had told the person, hey, it's been outside, but I personally did not see any pests on it. And that is what I told the person. And then they had found pests on it and they weren't upset. Like, I had been open about it. To know that it has pests and to not say anything, I think that's not good, guys. I will say that is not okay, because someone's paying you and expecting something. Anyway, okay, that's my little guy. Next plant is this teeny tiny Pepperoni Frost. The leaves I think are gonna fall off pretty soon, but it's got some decent roots and it's actually producing a little tiny baby plant. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I'm kind of tempted to just leave it so that that little baby plant can develop. You know what, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just let this guy grow. I've seen some photos of Peperonia that, you know, they produce the roots and then they have like little plantlets at the bottom and it's very cute. So I'm actually not gonna pot this up. I didn't know that that was starting to happen. We can do this Saba Blue. So this was just a cutting that I took from the mama plant to propagate and like make a fuller plant. So I'm just planting it back in the plant. All right, next question. Have you ever used plant care as an excuse to stay home or go home? 44% said yes, 56% said no. I actually thought it would be higher. I feel like a lot of plant people are introverts, or maybe not introverts, but prefer, maybe homebodies would be a better word. So I actually thought it would be higher number, like 90% have said yes. So I definitely have done that. I have definitely said, and sometimes I'm just honest, like, no, I have to take care of my plants. And then sometimes it's like in my head, like I can't go out today because, okay, this one also has rooted in a weird way, so I'm just gonna cut it. So like maybe I didn't say it out loud because I thought that might hurt the person's feelings, but I, you know, in my head was like, oh no, I cannot go out tonight. I have to do plant care. Anyway, that's a funny one. Okay, next question. Have you ever broken a leaf while trying to help it unfurl? 86% said yes, 14% said no. And that, I think, you know, I've done it, especially with philodendron. They're like trying to unfurl and you're watching it and you're so excited to see the new leaf and it gets stuck. And I think honestly, sometimes it is a good idea to help it unfurl because it's sometimes a lack of humidity and it's maybe gonna break. So I think doing that is good, but sometimes you do break the leaf. So many of you apparently have broken leaves doing that. It happens. Okay, I think there's just, oh no, two more plants. Do you hate any of your plants? 71% of you said yes. This is a Rhaphidophora decursiva, or dragon's tail, and this was a long tendril that was coming out of the mama plant. Mama plant is here. It was coming out and I kept waiting for it to put out new leaves, It never put out new leaves. It just was a big tendril. So I waited, I would say 6 months, and then I chopped it up. And actually, this one doesn't have roots. Oh, this piece doesn't have roots either. Okay, only one piece has rooted. So these ones I might actually cut up and put in a cup to propagate. Do you hate any of your plants? So 71% of you said yes, which means 29% said no. And I can't, when I hate a plant, I get rid of it. I don't like plants to die just because I don't, you know, if I can give it away to someone who will help it thrive, I will do that. But I totally understand hating a plant that's just like you're trying everything and it's not reacting properly. It's being dramatic. But I guess personally, I wouldn't say that to me is like I hate the plant. I would say I don't know what to do for the plant, if that makes sense. Like, I don't hate the plant, it's just the plant is struggling. The next plant that I'm doing, string of hearts. It's getting really long, it's touching the ground. So what I do with string of hearts is I snip off the excess and then I wind it on top. So this one is really long. It's blooming right now. There's a bloom. The blooms are, you know, they're not that exciting. I've heard that they smell like cinnamon, but mine do not. So I don't know what that's, oh, there's like a hairball, dog hairball at the bottom because it's touching the ground. Anyway, so it's quite long. And I'm gonna give it a snip and then I'm gonna wind those on top, and then usually it does root up and then keeps growing so it's thicker but not as long. So that's what I'm gonna be doing as I read the next one. So next question, have you paid more than $100 for a plant? 44% of you said yes, which means 56% of you have said no. And I don't know that I've spent more than $100 on a plant. I did spend $90 on one plant. That was back a long time ago. I bought a silver sword for $90, which now of course, silver swords are not that expensive. But I just thought they were so beautiful, so I did that. Now of course they're like $5. I have done a plant import and that was a few $100s, but that was for a lot of plants and I don't think one plant in the order was more than $100. So I said I was gonna wind them around, but this was a really long piece, so I did just snip off a piece. The rest of them I'm gonna just wind around. Next question, have you ever paid more than $1,000 for a plant? And only 3% said yes. So that's probably 2 people. Some of the really big Monstera albos or Philodendron ilsamanii, like there definitely is plants, Philodendron spiritus sancti. It's a lot of money. So I'm just securing them with bobby pins here. I feel like answering the questions and doing repotting is kind of difficult. It's hard for me to concentrate on both things. I think I'm gonna grab one more bobby pin. I'll be right back. I like to use those bobby pins that are like all bent out of shape. If you use bobby pins, you know what I mean. So usually I would just throw this out or like try to get it back into shape, but now I just save them for my plants because they're perfect for that. Next question. Have you ever killed a very expensive plant? 56% of you said yes. 44% of you said no. That's sad. My silver sword, my $90 silver sword didn't die, but it definitely didn't thrive. But all of my imported plants lived, thank goodness. Do any of your plants currently have lots of bugs on them? 27% of you said yes, which that is so stressful. Like when there is an infestation and you don't know what to do. Fortunately, I do have like 1 or 2 thrips that I see sometimes, but it is under control. I don't have any infestations. My attitude now is like, okay, if I see 1 or 2 thrips, I spray the plant down and then it's fine. I do not buy plants that I see a pest on. Like when I'm at the store, I check it so thoroughly. And if I see 1 or 2 pests, I don't bring it home, because if you can see 1 or 2 pests, there's probably more. I haven't been buying a lot of plants either because I have a lot. So that has also drastically reduced the pest situation, which is nice. But I think pests are a part of life when you have plants. Like it is normal, but to have a huge infestation, That's really stressful. For those of you that are struggling with that, I'm sorry, and that sounds really stressful, and I wish you luck. Okay, last question. Have you ever accidentally killed someone else's plant? 20% of you said yes. 80% of you said no. And I wonder about these 20%, like, was it your partner's plant? Were you plant sitting? Were you just like at someone's house and you knocked it over? I wish I would have added, like, could you please tell the story? Because that would be so sad. I have never killed someone else's plant. I have rescued a few of my friends' plants that they didn't know what was going on, and I tried to rescue them, and some successfully, some did die, but they were kind of already on the way out. So I didn't kill them. I tried to save them and I couldn't, right? It was a failed rescue. But I haven't killed anyone's. I've never well, actually, yeah, I have plant sitted before for people. And to my knowledge, I didn't kill any of the plants, but hopefully you told the person and hopefully the person forgave you. That is all the propagating that I have for today. As I said, these I thought were gonna be something, but they're not for today. But thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed, and please make sure you subscribe to my channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you in my next video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.